What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about the canceled Twisted Metal game. Now, up until this point, and I guess maybe even technically right now, it's all still a rumor, right? There was a rumor that it once was coming. There was a rumor that it once was canceled. While you have the big ones that are talked about, right? Like, through leaked stuff, like literal footage, we know the Spider-Man one, or Naughty Dog comes out, right, to officially cancel. This one never got that, but it very much seems like there was a Twisted Metal game. It very much seems like it was canceled and it's not coming anymore, although there's been different reports that maybe, one day we'll get a Twisted Metal game. What we have now is actually a bit more details on what this game actually would have been. So it sounds like a weird game, okay? I'll be honest in terms of like what the pitch is if I was pitching it to you. Picture this, okay? No, a battle royale game, but it would be a mix of vehicle combat as well as out of car combat, okay? Third person type stuff. So that's the long and short of it. There's actually pictures online if you search this stuff up. They say like NDA on them. They're all kind of blurred out, and it's very like early footage. Like they're environments, but they're like the block shaped environment, very early, right? But you can kind of get a gist of what this thing was going to be. Going to be a battle royale, going to be vehicles, and then also going to be, okay, you could maybe hop out of vehicles, fight, and then get back in them. There were always rumors, and you could say, okay, well, you have the Twisted Metal show. This game was always kind of rumored to go along with the show, right? Which would actually make sense for why characters could kind of jump out and in, right? Also, let me just cut all this stuff, okay? The main thing I want to discuss here, I do think this would have worked. Now, I am seeing a little bit of pushback, I'd say, on social media to this, where there definitely is pushback to that out-of-car stuff, right? When you play a Twisted Metal game, I mean, you think about Twisted Metal, you don't really think of... You do think of the characters, I think. I think there's some legendary characters that are just very cool looking, but they're also so associated with the car. I mean, they're also are just like you think of like a Mr. Grimm, like Sweet Tooth, right? You think about just how great they look, but then, okay, I mean, they look great, and you can see like character models in several of the games, right? Especially story-oriented type stuff, and they are important. But, when it comes to kind of at least what makes, say, like their weaponry tick, you go to the actual vehicle, right? Then they're associated with a car or a truck or an ice cream, whatever. And that has a whole kind of personality and character in and of its own, right? So I will say, I mean, like, I do agree. I agree that a third person, like, out of car experience would be a little strange, but I'll tell you this. The original rumor was that this was in development by the studio that did Destruction All-Stars. Remember this? So they made Destruction All-Stars. That was kind of their test run for literally being able to do like a car combat game. And then they were put on Twisted Metal. Now, I believe the rumor was that the game was taken away from them, given to somebody else, and then it was canceled. Pretty sure that's how it went. So it's not actually all that surprising. I mean, you can talk about the characters. You can talk about, okay, well, if it was going to kind of not follow the show, but be, like it needed the show maybe to survive, maybe to like continue that popularity. The show was actually very much focused season 1 on the characters, right? Cars kind of came second, and I think that was fine. The show did a phenomenal job, I think, in season 1, and it was so focused on the characters. So I think it could have worked, and I think I'll say this. The general idea of a Twisted Metal Battle Royale, this is the one that would have worked. I've said this quite a bit on the channel for as anti, and it's why, I lean into it, but I also think I am pretty fair, all things considered. When people say, oh, how I treat, live service games, I've come out and just said I think several of these things would have worked, like, at the end of the day. And funny enough, and it's not being a biasness to, like, one company or the other, I actually think all three that we know of, and I'm sure maybe I'm forgetting one or two, so don't quote me, but, you think about The Last of Us Online, right? Last of Us Factions, Last of Us 2, okay? That, the Spider-Man one, and Twisted Metal, I think all in their own way would have worked. I think a Battle Royale Twisted Metal game would have been perfect. I mean, Yes, the story is really cool. You know, I've played several of the old games. Of course, there was the PS3 game, and I think they are very, very good games. Okay, and but at the end of the day, the Twisted Metal tournament is literally a battle royale. It is the last one out, and that person gets that ultimate wish from Calypso. That is literally what the Twisted Metal tournament is for. It is a battle royale. It's just kind of staged, you know, literally broken down in stages. So, and it's literally you're taking out the opponents, and then the survivor, the winner, gets to, you know, the ultimate prize. So, I mean, that's the whole pitch of the freaking game. So I think that actually translates perfectly. And this is coming from somebody who generally 90% of the time despises live service, despises what it's done to the industry, and just so many of the games that have taken advantage of all this stuff. I'm very much against it for the most part, but I will concede when I think things actually sound cool, when things I do believe could work out. Twisted Metal, I definitely believed would work. And just quickly, The Last of Us, I think actually would have worked in its own way, being a more contained type experience. And then Spider-Man, I've said for Spider-Man, I think would have worked. It wouldn't have worked long term. It probably wouldn't have worked literally as a live service game, like 2, 3, 4 years, you know, being out. But I think it could have worked for like half a year, you know, of kind of updates like that. But definitely the other two, long term, I think would have actually worked out. Not saying that was the better decision. I mean, it's a little bit different with Twisted Metal, right? Like Naughty Dog, you saw like, okay, they have a choice to make. They could do one or the other, and they chose one. They actually had choices. Like this one, it's like, okay, they tried it. It didn't work. You know, maybe the game was ripped from them. Now the studio that was doing it, I believe, or maybe doing like an Until Dawn 2, that's the studio that's doing like that horror type game from the job descriptions that we think is Until Dawn 2, but we don't know that for sure. That's the team, I think. So it's like they're not making anything close to a Twisted Metal game now, so that was kind of like a one and done situation. But I think it could have been cool. I really, really do. I do think the out of car stuff would have been different and kind of weird, but if that wasn't the primary, it couldn't have been the primary focus, and then I would have actually conceded that, okay, maybe the thing wouldn't have worked. But if the out of car stuff is like 20-30% and the car stuff is 70-80%, I actually think that would have worked just fine. And I think the idea of a live service battle royale Twisted Metal game actually suits the franchise quite well. Maybe we get it. Maybe we get a Twisted Metal game at some point, because obviously, you know, with the Peacock stuff, I think specifically with Peacock, we know that shows have to do like really, I think I remember reading articles around the time Twisted Metal 1 came out, season 1, and I remember seeing stuff where it's like these shows have to do really good, otherwise they're just canceled, because like just the money made back versus the budget is quite alarming. So Twisted Metal season 1 was not only really good, but also did very well, and did so well that they actually got a second season. So there's clearly still engagement in the franchise, and I think as long as that exists, you know, they brought Twisted Metal 1 and 2, I believe, right, to PS Plus at the time of season 1. So, I mean, like Twisted Metal Black and things like that, those would be really cool to continue, just to keep them around. I think the franchise is going to still be around for a long time, and hopefully one day we get a Twisted Metal game. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.